Time by Kyrie Chris is 6 p.m. Time for CBX Business News. The business news headlines is brought to you by QMax Wealth Management, making more possible. A banking pitch, a Caribbean remittance threat, and brandy in the crosshairs of a trade war. Hello and welcome to CBX Business News for the first Friday in July 4, 2025. I'm Yanil Wood. Thanks for joining us. Coming up in the newscast locally, National Commercial Bank sets sights on becoming the financial partner of choice for customers and micro, small and medium-sized enterprises. On the regional front, U.S. One Big Beautiful Bill triggers regional concern with new remittance tax measures seen as a threat to Caribbean economies. And over on the global stage, China slaps tariffs on EU brandy in a sharp escalation of trade tensions with Europe. Stay tuned as we unpack these stories and more right after our first break.
We get the big contract. 50,000 units a month for 3 years. Great. Won't need help.
If you are a business owner that requires capital for the expansion of your business, talk to a registered broker today to find out more about listing your company on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, an efficient alternative to other financing options.
Thank God for the Jamaica Stock Exchange Junior Market.
The Jamaica Stock Exchange, providing a fair, efficient, and transparent stock market.
Caribbean dreams, instant turmeric tea. What you put in is what you get out. What you put in is what you get out. Yeah. Build up your body, boost up your brain. Take on the world now. Say bye-bye pain. Caribbean dreams, instant turmeric tea. Be good to you. Caribbean dreams, instant turmeric tea. Distributed by Amalgamated Distributors Limited.
Your garden coming along well.
Thanks, man. You know, it's a long time I've been working at it.
I can see that. I saw your mail by the gate, so I picked it up for you. But tell me something. Why are you still receiving dividend checks by mail?
What do you mean about that?
You need to give JCSD a mandate.
You know, me hear about the mandate them. I'm going over there right now.
A mandate means giving instructions to the Jamaica Central Securities Depository Limited, JCSD, relating to the handling of your dividend or interest payment. There are 3 types of mandates. The first is a bank mandate. The second is a hold mandate. Lastly, we have what we call a third-party mandate, with which the investor may wish to send their dividend or interest to someone other than the parties on their account or institution of their choice.
The local news is brought to you by Darriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean flavors and fragrances, tease the senses, and Pulse Investments. Welcome back to CBX Business News. Now for the local news in detail. National Commercial Bank Jamaica NCBJ is striving to become the financial partner of choice for all its customers, with a particular focus on small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs. During the bank's SME conference held Thursday at the AC Hotel Kingston, NCBJ CEO Bruce Bowen emphasized that being the largest financial institution in Jamaica positions the bank well to achieve this goal.
As the largest financial institution in Jamaica, our strength is we have more reach, more customers, more branches, more ABMs. We're the largest in the payment sector. You know, we've got a broader product range than anyone else. But at the end of the day, our success is going to be dependent upon doing a couple of things. We need to gain the right to be your primary banking relationship. And that means we need to be providing the products and services that you need every day.
He outlined a suite of initiatives that NCB has launched and will continue to implement to help businesses build wealth.
You know, we've been bringing cash back into branches. We've been trying to resolve some of the, drop box deposit issues so we can get quicker turnaround, make sure the payment products are working. So if we're doing all of those types of things, we can gain the right to be your primary banking relationship. We want to make sure that we are showing you all the different ways that we can help you build wealth. You know, we are a diverse group, and we can both provide lending services, the day-to-day payment services. We can be helping protect your assets through our insurance services, both life on the individual side and general insurance. We've got investment services. We have a capital markets division that's the largest in leading IPOs and doing debt capital markets in the region. So, if we can earn the right to be that primary relationship, and we can give you access to a broader range of services to help you build your wealth, that is what ultimately is going to lead to our success and is going to really mean that we are helping build a better Jamaica.
CEO of NCB, Bruce Bowen. And the National Commercial Bank Jamaica hosted its SME conference recently under the theme, Navigating the Digital Shift, Practical Tools for SME Success. The event gathered business owners, entrepreneurs, technology experts, and financial leaders for an immersive day focused on equipping SMEs with real-world solutions to thrive in an increasingly digital economy. The conference highlighted several critical areas for SME growth, including cybersecurity, cross-border payments, digital readiness, export and financing strategies, fraud prevention, and the deployment of accessible digital tools. Speaking on the purpose of the conference, NCBJ CEO Bruce Bowen emphasized the bank's commitment to empowering SMEs through digital transformation.
This event, we believe, is very important both for ourselves. I think it's important for the country, and we certainly hope that at the end of the day you'll agree that it's good for you as well. I'm really glad that you're all here. I do encourage you all to be curious as we're going through the day. Take the information we're trying to impart and the discussions that are going on. If you have questions, ask them. If you have contribution, make it. Don't be afraid to make it. But also connect with each other, because one thing I've learned over the years in business is that sometimes, either today or down the road, some of your best help can come from people you meet at events like this. So take the time to connect.
Chief Executive Officer of NCBJ, Bruce Bowen. In all the news, Cygnus Capital is once again stepping up to power change by making a second consecutive donation to Project STAR, reaffirming its commitment to supporting the program's mission and impact. The alternative investment firm's renewed support will expand access to job readiness training, small business grants, and psychosocial services in underserved communities across Jamaica, reaching even more Jamaicans who are ready to reimagine their futures. President and CEO of Cygnus Capital, Beresford Gray, said that at Cygnus, they invest in people, in communities, in potential, and in lasting transformation. He added that they believe that every Jamaican deserves a fair shot at building a better future, and Project STAR is helping to create those pathways in the communities that need them most. This year's donation is about more than funding. It's about standing with individuals and families who are ready to rise and helping to scale the kinds of initiatives that move people into real, sustainable opportunities. That's the kind of change we're proud to be a part of, he pointed out. This latest contribution brings Cygnus's total investment in Project STAR to 10 million Jamaican dollars over 2 years. The funds are helping to deepen the reach of Project STAR's community-driven programs, which are designed to unlock new possibilities through skills development, entrepreneurship, and psychosocial support. Now to foreign currency trading news. At the end of currency trading on Friday, the US dollar is selling for $160.77, the Canadian for $118.52, and the pound sterling for $220.24, while $188.59 is the going rate for the euro. And from foreign currency trading, we go to trading news on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. 109 stocks traded on the JSE Friday, of which 57 advanced, 33 declined, and 19 traded firm. Leading the winners were ISP Finance Services, Epley Caribbean Property Fund SCC, Jetcon Corporation, and MPC Caribbean Clean Energy. The losers were led by Blue Power Group, G West Corporation Ordinary Shares, Epley Limited, and Caribbean Cream. Now the main index advanced by 2,138.17 points, or 0.69%, to close at 312,991.30. The junior market index, however, declined by 3.84, or 0.11%, to close at 3,441.93. And it's time for Market Education Feature, brought to you by CariCris, Regional Ratings, Global Standard. In today's Market Education Feature, we're taking a closer look at the term turnkey project. A turnkey contract is a delivery method in which a contractor assumes full responsibility for all phases of development, from detailed engineering and design to final construction, under a single agreement with the owner. This approach shifts many of the duties traditionally handled by the owner in the design bid build DBB model to the contractor, helping to reduce complexity and streamline execution. Unlike DBB, where different parties manage separate elements, turnkey delivery consolidates everything, including design, financing, procurement, subcontracting, and construction into a single source solution. The Market Education Feature was brought to you by CariCris, Regional Ratings, Global Standards. And that's it for Market Education Feature and the end of the local segment. Please stay with us. The regional business news is right after this break. The local news is brought to you by Derriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, tease the senses. And Pulse Investments.
Are so much book you need for high school?
I'll show you how to make sure you have all the money for my books and even some extra. It's called budgeting, Dad. Making a budget is the most important thing you can do to track your money. It keeps a record of how much you make, how much you spend, where you spend it, and most importantly, how much you can save. Write down all your income, write down all your expenses, see where you can cut down and allot more money to more important things, like saving.
Welcome back, and now to news from across the region. Caribbean economies face immediate pressure following the U.S. Congress's passage of the One Big Beautiful Bill, which starting today, July 4, imposes a 1% tax on remittances sent abroad by non-U.S. citizens. This new levy threatens to reduce billions of dollars flowing to Caribbean households, where remittances form a critical economic pillar, potentially straining families and businesses across the region. The legislation passed on July 3 targets remittances made through cash, money orders, or cashier's checks by foreign nationals, including green card holders and temporary visa workers. Remittances to the Caribbean have grown steadily over the years. For instance, Jamaica received approximately US $3.36 billion in remittances in 2024, largely from the United States, which remains the dominant source of funds to the region. Other countries, such as Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and Trinidad and Tobago, similarly depend heavily on inflows from diaspora communities working abroad. Beyond remittances, the bill includes provisions that prioritize boosting domestic manufacturing and energy production within the United States. This shift toward U.S. economic self-reliance could reduce trade volumes and foreign direct investment in the Caribbean, particularly in sectors such as agriculture, manufacturing, and tourism, which rely heavily on U.S. demand. The banking sector in the Bahamas experienced a marked liquidity boost in May 2025 as excess reserves rose sharply by $44.1 million to nearly $2 billion, signaling improved financial stability. This surge contrasts sharply with the $32.6 million contraction recorded in the same month last year. According to the central bank's latest monetary sector report, broader liquidity measured by excess liquid assets also expanded by $33.5 million to reach $3.18 billion. This reversed a modest 6.2 million decline observed in May last year. The liquidity expansion is attributed primarily to stronger deposit growth outpacing lending activity, reflecting a cautious lending environment amid ongoing economic uncertainties. However, the positive liquidity trend comes amid the continued decline in the Bahamas' external reserves, which fell by $24 million to $2.8 billion, extending a downward trajectory from the previous year. The central bank's net foreign currency sales to the public sector more than doubled to $45.1 million, compared to $24.7 million in May 2024, exerting pressure on reserves. Offsetting this, net foreign currency purchases from commercial banks improved slightly to $19.3 million. Notably, commercial banks shifted from a net foreign currency outflow of $34 million last year to a net inflow of $26.6 million in May 2025, indicating stronger foreign currency liquidity within the banking system. In other news, Trinidad and Tobago is taking decisive steps to rejuvenate its mature oil and gas basins, aiming to sustain and boost production through advanced technology, strategic partnerships, and streamlined government processes. Addressing industry stakeholders at the SPET 2025 Mature Basin Energy Symposium recently, Minister of Energy and Energy Industries, Rudal Munilal, highlighted key initiatives designed to unlock the potential of the country's long-standing basins, including the Southern Basin, Columbus Basin, and the Trinidad Northern areas.
These basins have sustained the economic life of Trinidad and Tobago, but are now beyond their peak production. That, however, does not mean that they have reached the end of their economic life. Ladies and gentlemen, by applying new technologies, managing acreage, reducing costs, and cultivating partnerships, we can fully realize the potential of our mature basins. The success of this approach was recently demonstrated by discoveries in the teak, salmon, and pui area, which would not be possible without the new seismic acquisition and interpretation.
Minister Mooninlal says the government is also prioritizing efforts to improve operational efficiency by addressing the cumbersome approval process for the development and execution of upstream oil and gas projects in the country.
One of the major obstacles to increasing oil and gas production is the lack of operational efficiency linked to government approvals that companies must navigate. A study conducted by the Energy Chamber revealed that the approval process for new upstream projects required 33 major approvals from 8 ministries or agencies. Government approvals are required for almost every activity at every stage, from seismic acquisition to exploration drilling to the operationalization of field development plans.
Trinidad and Tobago's Minister of Energy, Rudal Mooninlal. Still with TNT, but this time trading news from the TTSE. 21 securities traded on the TTSE Friday, of which 10 advanced, 5 declined and 6 traded firm. Leading the winners were Ansa McCull, Endeavour Holdings, Unilever Caribbean, and First Citizens Group Financial Holdings. While the losers were led by the West Indian Tobacco Company, National Enterprises, Pointless Industrial Port Development Corporation, and Trinidad and Tobago NGL. Other results include the All TNT Index advancing by 19.26 to close at 1,503.95. The Composite Index advancing by 10.17 to close at 1,026.67. And the Cross-Listed Index also advanced, but by 0.06 to close at 72.23. The SME Index advanced as well, but by 4.56 to close at 96.37. And we go for a short break, but please stay with us. Nielsen Rose is up next with the International Business News segment.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. In the international news today, in a major legislative victory for President Donald Trump, Congress passed the administration's nearly 900-page tax and spending mega bill on Thursday, just in time for the July 4 deadline. Dubbed the Big Beautiful Bill by President Donald Trump, the legislation cements and expands the tax cuts first introduced in 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, while introducing a host of new provisions aimed at seniors, families, and businesses. Key tax changes include permanent extension of the 2017 tax cuts, including current tax brackets and expanded standard deductions. A new $6,000 deduction for seniors earning under $75,000, effectively offsetting Social Security taxes. Boost to child tax credit, increasing it from $2,000 to $2,200. Expanded SALT SALT deduction cap raised to $40,000 for 5 years, benefiting residents in high tax states. Temporary deductions for tipped income up to $25,000, overtime and auto loan interest. Business incentives such as full expensing of equipment and research costs. While Republicans hailed the bill as a pro-growth, pro-family measure, Democrats criticized it for deep cuts to Medicaid and food assistance programs. The Congressional Budget Office estimates the bill will add trillions to the national deficit, with the wealthiest households gaining the most and low-income Americans potentially losing up to $1,600 annually. The bill also includes $350 billion in funding for Trump's border security agenda, including expansion of the U.S.-Mexico border wall and increased migrant detention capacity. The FAO Food Price Index rose 0.5% in June to 128 points, nearing the highs seen in April 2023. The increase was driven by a 2.3% rise in vegetable oil prices, with gains in palm, rapeseed, and soy oils outweighing a slight dip in sunflower oil. Meat prices climbed 2.1% to a new record, with increases across all categories except poultry. Dairy prices also edged up 0.5%, led by a 2.8% surge in butter, which hit a record high due to tight supplies in the Oceania region and in the EU, as well as a strong demand from Asia. In contrast, cereal prices fell 1.5% to their lowest level since September 2020 as global maize prices dropped for a second month amid abundant seasonal supplies from Argentina and Brazil. Sugar prices also declined sharply, down 5.2% to their lowest since April 2021, thanks to improved production outlooks in key growing regions. WTI crude prices fell to $66 per barrel on Friday, extending losses as traders braced for a potential output hike from OPEC+. At its upcoming meeting, the group is expected to restore an additional 411,000 barrels per day in August, raising fears of a supply glut, while a recent U.S.-Vietnam trade agreement offered some support to prices. Broader uncertainty persists. Key partners like the EU and Japan have yet to finalize trade deals ahead of the July 9th tariff pause deadline. President Trump announced that letters detailing new U.S. import tariffs would begin going out on Friday. Meanwhile, the U.S. escalated pressure on Iran by imposing fresh sanctions on companies and a shadow fleet of vessels involved in Iranian oil trade. Despite the recent dip, WTI is still on track to post a weekly gain of over 1%, recovering from its steepest weekly drop in more than 2 weeks. And finally, in news from China, China's Commerce Ministry has announced it will impose duties of up to 34.9% on European brandy, including French cognac, starting July 5. The tariffs will last for 5 years and follow an anti-dumping investigation launched last year. While some producers like Martell and Remy Martin may avoid the full tariff due to minimum price commitments, the move is widely seen as retaliation for EU tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles. Monthly cognac exports to China have already plunged by as much as 70% amid the dispute. And those were your international business stories. After the break, join Neil for your recap.
Hi, I'm Nielsen Rose, host of Let's Talk Stocks, reminding you that health is indeed wealth and time is really money. Why not spend a little time with us? Weekday mornings, 9 to 9:30 a.m. for your daily dose of business, economic, and investment insights.
Welcome back, and now to recap our top stories. NCB sets sights on becoming the financial partner of choice for customers and MSMEs. Regionally, new U.S. remittance tax threatens Caribbean economies. And on the international scene, China hits EU brandy with tariffs amid escalating trade tensions. Those were the stories making today's CBX Evening News. On behalf of Nielsen Rose and the entire production team, I'm Yonil Wood, wishing for you a wonderful weekend. And thanks for watching CBX, your region, your business, your source.